And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Go ahead and say it, Ed. Go Tigers!
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
You like that? You like that?
F it. Jamar's down there somewhere.
The New Orleans Saints select Marcus Davenport.
No!
Splash Brothers? Yeah.
It's playoff. Keep going, Brace.
The playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Hopefully you got the graphic on our Facebook page for a lot of the main ads that I had listed for y'all. But first, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in with a word of prayer. Lord, just thank you for this wonderful game that you've blessed us with and given us the opportunity to just talk about it and hopefully in somewhat form a way just to glorify your name, Lord. Just please be with Nora K. Meredith as she's undergoing treatment and for her cancer, and just be with her and her family as and if it be your will, lay your hands on her, Lord, and relieve her of that. Also, Lord, just please be with the tech stabbing families as they're still grieving from that terrible tragedy. The families from Jonesboro, from the multiple tragedies there, and help them in that grieving process and turn to you, Lord. Please be with Israel as they are still in a battle over there, Lord. Just please help turn them to you, them and their attackers, Lord. Help in the fighting and the suffering, Lord. And just please also be with Mr. Jeff Candy and whatever he is going through, Lord. Just please be with him and his family and help them in whatever way you see fit, and just lay your hands on them, put a hedge of protection over him and his family, Lord. And just thank you, and please let us continue to shine a light for you, Lord. And we appreciate everything you continue to do for us, and let it all be in your name. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen. Well, go ahead and get right on into it. We're going to go over our start, sit, sleeper pods, but first we want to thank our sponsors. Big Reed BBQ, Automotive Detailing Solutions, This Little Piggy Barbecue Food Truck, Mimi's Children's Boutique, and Doug Damona Farm and Feed. And that comes to our title sponsor for this episode, Doug Damona Farm and Feeds, a family-owned and operated farm, supply, and nursery. There you can find a wide variety of pet and livestock feeds, supplements, vet supplies, plants, seeds, and fertilizer, as well as all your deer hunting needs. Located on Highway 167, just north of Hodge Mill, you can be sure you'll be treated like family at Doug Damona Farm and Feed. From our family to yours, thank you for your business, and we appreciate y'all supporting us. And guys, go out and y'all support Doug Damona Farm and Feed. We really appreciate them supporting us. Y'all go support them. And rolling right on into our news and injuries, guys, there's a fair amount of them. Breece Hall, one that everybody's familiar with, had emerged from his last game with an ankle injury and did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. But he has come forward after practice today, speaking to the media, has come forward and said he does not intend on missing the game. So he's planning to play, but he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. If you got him, like I do in a couple leagues, don't sweat. He'll be playing, I'm sure. I know he has been somewhat lackluster the last couple of weeks, but I think there's a decent chance he might get back on track this week. We'll just have to see. Also, go ahead and moving on to Isaiah Pacheco, came out of last week's game with a shoulder contusion and did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Really, there's no real update as far as good or bad on that, except for the fact that they're calling it a contusion. And there was somebody earlier on this season that actually missed a couple of games from a shoulder contusion. It was a rotator cuff contusion. I can't exactly remember who that was, but if this is something similar to that, we could be looking at least maybe a week absence here. So just kind of keep an eye on that one. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, I guarantee he does not play probably this weekend. Also, Kenneth Walker, oblique injury, ended up being ruled out, sat out last week, and honestly, didn't practice Wednesday. Don't know if they've released a update on him. Let me double check for today. Seattle's always late. Got a limited practice in today, and if I know anybody from Seattle, if they're getting a limited practice in, I bet money they're probably going to play this weekend. So Kenneth Walker probably going to be back this week. So if you had him on your team, I'd be looking for probably a full or at least another limited tomorrow. But keep an eye on that. Aaron Jones back at practice and probably will play. He was limited today, I think he was limited yesterday. But Aaron Jones back at practice after that MCL sprain. So if you got him, you probably should be firing him up because you've probably been hurting at running back because he was probably one of the first ones you drafted. But yeah, he will be back. Ramondre Stevenson, this is going to be late, but he has a high ankle sprain, and he got ruled out for Thursday Night Football. But that also means he's probably going to be ruled out again next week. We'll see. With high ankle sprain with a running back, typically that's not a 1 week absence. And Ezekiel Elliott is filling in for him tonight and hasn't really done a ton. He's got a touchdown and about 6 catches, but I think he's got like 15 carries for 23 yards or something like that. So this game is started out a lot better than what we thought, and then it's really turned into a turnover fest here lately. What Clay and I were talking about a little bit before.
Maybe Ramondre was what was holding back the Patriots offense.
Yeah. Well, if they'd have given him as many touches as they're giving Zeke, they might actually would have had a better offense.
Yeah, maybe so.
But I mean, Bailey Zappi just keeps throwing the ball to the other team, and Pittsburgh keeps going. That's going to be a rough one. Oh, they did get it. Okay.
Wow.
But anyway,
this game's turning into what we expected.
Yeah. Quite interesting for sure. Mari Cooper, concussion, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday at all. The fact that he's not practicing and he had you can practice and not clear the concussion protocol. But if you're not practicing at this point in the week with a concussion, then you're probably not going to clear the protocol either by the weekend. So don't look to have Amari Cooper. And if you got Elijah Moore off the waiver wire, if you got him, I would be highly thinking about starting him because there's one thing we've seen with Joe Flacco. They let him throw the ball. And I think he threw the ball, if I'm not mistaken, last week. I think he threw the ball almost 40 times.
He looked 40,
fine. Yeah, 40.
He wasn't bad at all.
44 times. And I'll be honest, I almost say that this offense gets a little bit of a boost with him because he throws the ball so much.
Yeah.
Now, he might turn it over some.
It's definitely a boost over P.J. Walker and DTR.
Yeah.
I think Watson was starting to, become what we kind of expected or close to it at least, but Flacco's a pretty good option at this point in the season.
But with Cooper being out, man, I really think that gives a boost to Elijah Moore and David Njoku in this offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Trevor Lawrence, ankle injury. They thought it was bad. He got removed from the game. Everybody's freaking out. It's DEFCON 4, and he practiced today. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. But the dude's tough, man. You see it all the time nowadays.
If I was Jacksonville, though, man, I would not go to Cleveland. Probably bad weather with Myles Garrett on that other side. I'd give him a week.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. But Trevor Lawrence is a tough dude, man.
Yeah,
there's some people in this league that they question their toughness. And, a lot of older players and a lot of older people say that the players aren't as tough now as they used to be. But, man, some of these cats are. We've seen Lawrence play with we've seen Herbert play with, a broken rib and a broken finger or whatever. And now we've seen Lawrence play with some stuff too. And some of these cats are really tough. And anyway, if he plays, kudos to him. But man, being the franchise, and not only that, but they're pretty close to locking up a playoff position. I mean, and that's probably what it comes down to is they're trying to lock that up. That way he can rest at the end of the season, and some of the other starters can because I think what are they 8-4?
Yeah, but they're only
9-4 something.
Like that. Yeah, they're 8-4, but the Colts and Texans are both 7-5 right behind them.
Yeah,
so it's a lot tighter of a division than people expected.
Yeah, so they're trying to stay on top of it. But anyway, so we'll see if he plays. If he does, I mean, obviously it's a big boost for the offense. If he doesn't, you got to definitely downgrade everybody except for maybe ETN. And then Marquise Brown ended up getting ruled out left the game with that heel injury that he was limited with last week. and then ended up leaving the game, re-aggravating it, which does not look good for him playing this week. Man, I looked. It's so crazy. The last update on him was Sunday when he left the game today. Like,
oh wow,
how do you just not update? Like, and that was on ESPN and Sleeper, and I'm just like, how do you just not update an injury after the game? Like, at least like Monday or Tuesday, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to find, and you know what? They might have updated and ruled him out because he's not even on the first page of rankings. Yeah, I bet they did already rule him out.
Jonathan Gannon's running a tight ship over there, keeping everything out of the public eye.
Oh yeah.
I don't like that. Like just about everybody that you've mentioned tonight. Everybody that you've mentioned tonight has been on my roster, I think.
Yeah.
Or on one of my 3 rosters.
So this is why I apologize to whoever should be updating these people. They're going on bye, and that's what it is. But that's why I wanted to mention it, because even though he's going on bye, the fact that he re-aggravated, if he ends up sitting out, Dortch and Rondell Moore, somebody that need to be paid attention to coming off the buys, especially this late in the year when starters are starting to get sat. You're going to be needing somebody that's going to get some volume in an offense. And really, an offense is not that bad with Kyler Murray, not as bad as it was for sure. And, oh, Lord. Sorry, Thursday Night Football.
What was that?
That was the tight end trying to run an RPO is what it was.
That's a hilarious
doubt.
play.
A tight end trying to run an RPO, and the Patriots were having none of it.
That's crazy.
Good night. That's
just hand the ball to Najee.
Dude, they literally did a jet sweep with a tight end, and then he pulled the ball to throw it, and the Patriots were all over it. And then now they're going to give the ball to Najee. Oh, no, they're not. Trubisky said, I got this. I'm going to take everybody's fantasy points away.
Yeah.
Because nobody started Trubisky. I can tell you that for sure. But anyway, all right, let's get back on track here, Clay. Sorry. And, but yeah, so Marquise Brown, y'all keep an eye. If he ends up going on IR or something crazy, because he does have an injury history, Greg Dortch and Rondell Moore, even though they're on bye, pick them up, start them, throw them in your bench, because next week, that could be important for you whenever some starters start to get sat, whenever some of these teams clinch. Also, a big one here, Christian Kirk went down during that Jags game with what thought was a groin injury, ended up being a core muscle injury, had surgery. Anytime you got to have surgery to repair a core muscle injury, that's not good. That's not good at all. They didn't say anything about IR, but they did come out and say he's likely to miss some time. So that tells me at least a week or two. So was that Freiermuth that just caught that?
Indeed.
It was.
3-point game. Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a good finish.
But anyway, so so Christian Kirk goes down, gonna miss some time. If you had him, right now it's looking like Parker Washington could be the guy that could take up some of that. I didn't really have him on waivers because Trevor Lawrence injury at the time, everybody thought he was going to be down. And honestly, without Trevor Lawrence, I don't have a lot of confidence of anybody in that offense, really, with C.J. Beathard running it. So, but anyway, Christian Kirk's out. Pick up Parker Washington because it looks like Trevor Lawrence isn't going to miss as much time as we thought, or if any. Then shocking news right here, guys. Shocking news. Christian Watson goes down with a hamstring injury, guys.
In a game that he looked good in, too.
Yes.
Looks good, and then boom,
that one coming again. So we're waiting on an update. Let me see. Whenever I wrote this earlier, there was no update. Let's see if there is now. Officially didn't practice today. So
well, they have till Monday at least. So that's a little bit of a.
He isn't sure whether he'll be able to play Monday, is what he said. He said he would return as soon as he can. No joke. I mean, with his history, it's hard to say. But like, why don't they come out? Because they said they were just going to have like testing. Why don't they come out and say what, like, if there's a grade to it, if it's mild, if it's not, like.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now, give us a little bit of something. But anyway, So they're not really helping us out much there, guys. But Christian Watson, if he is out, man, I like Jaden Reed, because whenever he was out, Jaden Reed was really coming into his own in this offense. Not as much with him being more productive. And I really think that they're just playmakers that they get the ball to, and they just make more plays. But anyway, I like Jaden Reed if Watson is out to kind of take another step up again like he did when Watson was out before. Excuse me. Also, Dalton Schultz, hamstring injury. Last week, he got ruled out. He missed last week. This week, he has not practiced Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, after sitting last week and he didn't practice today or yesterday, I really don't think Dalton Schultz is coming back from that hamstring injury this weekend. And Brevin Jordan didn't really do anything with his opportunity. So, I mean, I think you just avoid that tight end situation in Houston there.
Yeah, and playing the Jets as well.
Yeah, so. Well, that too. And then Tank Dell, I mean, you know, he
Brutal.
was getting, dude, top 22, I think. He was 22nd wide receiver. Breaks his fibula, got put on IR, had to have season-ending surgery.
Like the freaking 5'9", 180-pound guy is blocking in a tight formation on the goal line.
Hey, it's the small things that win the game there, Clay.
I mean, he was doing his job, but my God, like put somebody else out there and let him block.
I'll tell you, the fact that he got a hurt blocking is going to earn him some respect on that team. I mean, it will, you know, because that's one thing about wide receivers. They're known to not, you know, a lot of them are known to not block. So, anyway, Tank Dell broke his fibula, out for the year. Sucks, but it is what it is. Noah Brown has had some success, so he might be the next man up there. I really don't think it's going to be Bobby Trees. I think it's going to be Noah Brown more than likely. And also, this is a big boost for Nico Collins.
I say that Nico Collins
big boost
be good for me.
But
I needed that.
But
not this week.
This week is gonna, man. You know, I kind of want to start Noah Brown a little bit in that game.
Yeah.
Because if Sauce Gardner's all over Nico, like, you know, he's gonna have to look the other way. So I've got Noah Brown. I picked him up in 3 leagues. And one of the leagues I had Tank Dell in, and I got a flex spot to play with, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or not, because that was the league I had George Pickens and Jaylen Warren, and I took them out. But I've also got Keaton Mitchell, who I really like this week, just because they had a bye week.
Hey, you'll be hearing him from me as well.
So we'll talk about him here in a little bit. But anyway, so I'm thinking about starting him at my flex. I'm that, because I need a win this week to make the playoffs in this league. And
that's how I'm feeling.
We'll see.
I
feel like if there's anybody that could just blow up out of nowhere, it's that guy. But we'll talk about him here in a minute, because I think both of us feel that way. But anyway, that's going to round out our injuries, guys. We're going to jump right into our starts at quarterback. And Clay, get us kicked off with your start at quarterback.
All right, so quarterback, I'm going Justin Fields, playing the Detroit Lions, who just haven't really been having the defense that it looked like early on in the year. Starting to fall apart a little bit, and especially that secondary. The secondary is just not very good. Fields looking pretty comfortable the past couple of weeks, and whenever he's healthy and he's out there and he's kind of rolling, like, he's just a safe fantasy quarterback. He really is. Like, he might not be one of the best straight up quarterbacks in the NFL, but for fantasy with that rushing ability, it's dangerous. It really is. And
I like it a lot.
I'm expecting a good week from him.
Yep. Got no arguments there. Detroit, like you said, they have not been near as good. And really, Fields is looking like he's coming into his own in that offense, throwing and running the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, almost at least 70% completion percentage the last 2 weeks. I mean, he's not throwing for a ton of yards, but he's completing good passes.
Yeah.
And whenever you do that, I mean, it'll come around, especially he's got talent on that offense too. I mean, between Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, and DJ Moore, those are some solid receivers, you know, not to mention Roshan, Herbert, Foreman. I mean, if he had a decent offensive line, I mean, their defense is playing better than people give them credit for. And they're not that far off. And don't they have 2 picks high in the draft? Is that
they've got the Panthers? Yeah. So they're probably getting number one, and then wherever the Bears fall, which will probably be 5-ish.
Yeah,
it's going to make it interesting given what they're going to do with Fields.
And if it was me, I'm definitely taking probably the number one offensive lineman in the draft. Number one tackle for sure.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that's probably one of their biggest disparities.
Oh, definitely. At the end of the day, though, this is like, year 3 for Fields? So they're probably going to just reset it and take Caleb Williams number one.
Well, you know what? Contract. You just send him right on New Orleans because I think he's got. I've seen enough of him passing and everything. I think he's got the talent to do it in this league. I mean, he's not polished, but I mean, he's like he's a more athletic and a better arm Tua, kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
if you give him, if you give him a stable organization and offense around him, absolutely.
You know, and a lot of people kind of compare him to Russell Wilson when he came out, but to me, Russell Wilson was a little bit more cerebral. I don't know if I'm not giving Fields enough credit, but I felt like Wilson was a lot smarter.
Oh yeah, I mean he came in and won that job immediately and won a Super Bowl in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm just talking about their style of play because he ran the ball a lot.
Yeah,
what people don't remember, but he also had that cannon. He could throw the ball well, but I don't know. We'll see, but I don't. Man, if I was them, I'd hang on to him and build around him a little bit more. Get a better offensive coordinator in there. I don't know, man. Like every time they get somebody in there, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they cater to him. I feel like they're just trying to do Bears things, you know. So anyway, but I like that pick a lot. And then mine goes right on in there with it. Somebody was just talking about Russell Wilson playing the Los Angeles Chargers secondary this week, 29th in the NFL against the quarterback. You know, last week, boy, they had a good week against Bailey Zappi. Get me out of here, all right? All right, but whenever they played Goff, 27 points. When they played Jordan Love, 26 points. And to be honest, Jordan Love is a poor man's Russell Wilson to me right now. But Russell Wilson at the Chargers, solid weather. The Denver's team looks a lot better than it has in a while. And the Chargers are struggling. They've been struggling on offense. I feel like they got to get it together this week. I feel like this could be a shootout. I don't, or at least it could be a good. Hey, some crazy things happen in this game. Sorry, got distracted. Got the game on in the background. You know, you catch a play out of the corner of your eye, and it's like, oh my.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, Russell Wilson. I feel like they could be chasing points because I feel like the Chargers' offense gets back on track this game. I mean, they had 2 really really rough weeks. And you know that offense is way more potent than they've let on. Now I know they're missing some pass catchers, but still, I mean they're better than that. I mean Eckler's had a tough time. Herbert's had a tough time. I got Herbert in the league, and it's like, do I consider picking somebody else up and starting him? I'm not going to this week because really it's still not a bad matchup against Denver's defense, even though they play better. But it's at the Chargers. I feel like either it's going to be a shootout or Denver's going to be chasing points the whole game. But one other caveat to the thing is Russell Wilson has at least 10 rushes the last 2 games. Okay?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, 11 for 34 and a touchdown. Last week, 10 for 44 and a touchdown. Boy, if that ain't a floor that makes you feel good about starting a quarterback, I don't know what is. So, that's really where I feel like Russell Wilson, if he's starting to run, scramble more like that, like he used to, and his passing will come. But I mean, because it has not been great the last couple of weeks, and if it would have been, we'd be talking about him. You know, he'd be ranked probably in the top 10, and which he's ranked fairly high this week. I think he's like 9 or 10 right now, but he would be ranked a lot higher. But anyway, I like Russell Wilson a lot this week. I think if you got him, there's some tough matchups out there this week. I think you gotta roll with Russell Wilson and let it ride. So anyway, that's our starts. What about your sit, Clay? Who are you sitting?
It's pretty much going more off of name than ranking. He's pretty low down on the ESPN ranking this week, but Matthew Stafford, he's going to more. It's just it's not a good matchup, and I don't think many people are playing him,
Well,
but just don't play him. If
you say that, Clay, but he's put up 30 points the last 2 weeks. And that's why I listed him as my sit as well, because people are going to see that have been playing him. They're like,
yeah,
dude's been hot. I'm going to roll with him.
Yeah.
Do not roll with him.
No.
Not at Baltimore this time of the year.
Coming off a bye.
Cooper's banged up still. Cooper Kupp. Puka Nakua's banged up. I mean, he's going to play. They're going to play. But Baltimore's coming off a bye, fresh at home. Man, I just don't see it being a good day for anybody on the Rams. Maybe Kyron Williams just because of the volume, and that's about it.
They got him listed as number 3 running back, which seems a little high.
Yeah, that's the only. But I mean, still, Baltimore coming off fresh.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But yeah, I'm right there with you. The number 1 defense against quarterbacks, and we've talked about what they've done at home against quarterbacks. Now, they've not been as good lately as they have been, but coming off a bye, you gotta know they're gonna be ready to play against Matthew Stafford, and they're gonna see what he did the last couple weeks, and I think they're gonna turn that clock forward and really exploit that not so great offensive line he has.
Yeah.
So, I like that pick a lot there. And that, like we just said, guys, that's Clay's and mine sit, Matthew Stafford. And then let's talk about our sleepers, Clay. Who you sleep? Who would you start over Stafford this week?
I'm going back to my boy Baker. Baker against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense has been fine, but it's a big game for both teams. Which it was last week as well for Baker, and I don't think he had a great game, but I think he was still solid. I think he's playing in a dome, so you don't get the weather effect. He's in Atlanta. I don't know. There's something about Baker this week that it feels like a solid option.
Baker's been solid for most of the year, honestly. I mean, there's not but 1, 2, 3 games he's had less than 17 points all year. Okay. And none of them, the last time he played Atlanta, he put up 24. That was at home. Now they're going to be at Atlanta in the Dome. His offense is fairly healthy, and it's a must-win, like you said. And Baker's a competitor. He's going to go out there and put his best foot forward. Not to mention, you get a somewhat of a small rushing sample with him also. He hasn't ran as much of lately because of his injuries, but it's still that possibility is there. So, I like that pick for Baker as well. And then my sleeper guy that I talked about a little bit ago, Joe Flacco against Jacksonville.
There we go.
I mean, dude, the dude threw the ball 44 times, and we know Cleveland's got playmakers on that offense.
Yeah.
And if they're going to let him throw the ball that much, and even though Cooper's going to be out, man, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt's a little banged up. Then they have a rookie wide receiver there in Cleveland. And, I mean, man, just when you throw the ball 44 times, you're going to put up some stats. Yeah. And they're playing against Jacksonville, who is, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check this here, 30th against quarterbacks. Okay. They let Jay Brown that 4 yards touchdowns to Steve Stroud. Week 4, that 158 yards and 2 touchdowns on 17 pass attempts. Okay. He put up 22 points. Will Levis. Then before that, Purdy killed it. Hang on one second. You still there, Clay?
Yeah. We're good.
It just said, could you hear me? Because it said
the internet was it was lagging a little bit, but we're good.
Okay. All right. I don't know what happened. So
I don't know.
Anyway, but Joe Flacco's in a prime position against Jacksonville to really put up some points. So I think he's somebody, if you're in a bind, you got somebody that's hurt, maybe you got Trevor Lawrence, you don't want to trust him. Dude, I think Joe Flacco puts up major points this week for Cleveland. And it's, even though it's at Cleveland, it's going to be cold. Joe Flacco played in Baltimore for most of his career. It doesn't get much colder than that. So
I like it.
So I like Joe Flacco a lot as my sleeper. All right, let's move on to running backs. Who you starting at running back there, Clay?
I'm going right back to the Detroit and Chicago game, and I'm going David Montgomery.
Yep.
The man just gets the ball. He gets the ball.
Yep.
He
gets
really
it done.
does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a league that, isn't focused on bonuses and stuff like that, where, if a guy scores a touchdown and gets you 50 yards, you have a pretty good day. That feels like a safe
standard league. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, any type of standard league, Monty's he's a great play.
Yep.
He really is, and I think that keeps going this week. I think this game's going to be pretty fairly high scoring.
Yeah, and people don't realize he's RB16 on the year,
and he missed multiple weeks.
Yeah, and so I like that pick a lot. And Chicago's 21st against the run. Man, I mean, that's just a solid pick. So I like it a lot at Chicago. They're going to probably run the ball a lot. It's going to be cold and windy. So it's going to be best to run the ball a fair amount in Chicago. So I like that. Mine's got to be Joe Mixon. If he could come through last week, I mean, I think he can come through again. And this week, he's going up against the Indianapolis Colts, who's 28th against the run defense, 28th against the run so far this year, giving up an average of 26 points a game to running backs. I mean, that's obviously cumulative to running backs, but considering Joe Mixon gets about 80% of the carries there, last week, 19 carries for 68 yards, 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville, 6 catches for 49 yards. Jake Browning's passed him the ball. I like Joe Mixon a lot. A lot of people thought this offense was going to start to die a little bit with Jake Browning, but he's kind of proved some people wrong.
Looked good. He looked good Monday.
He's proved some people wrong. So, and now they got the Colts at home in Cincinnati.
In
kind of a must win.
Yeah, a game where if the Bengals win that the playoff hopes are still alive.
Yeah. So I like Joe Mixon a lot this week. So a lot of people are kind of hesitant.
Jake Browning as a play either.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely in a deep league for sure. But a lot of people were hesitant with Joe Mixon after all this went down. People were talking about flex, and I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I think they lean more on Joe Mixon, and I think the checkdowns get a little bit better because Joe's not pushing it down the field like, Joe Burrow's not pushing down the field like Jake Browning. I mean, the opposite, Jake Browning's not pushing it like Joe Burrow does. So I think there's a lot more checkdown opportunity. And Jamar Chase has proven that they have to honor him still with Jake Browning. So
I mean, he got.
They're not stacking the box. They're not stacking the box like a lot of people thought they were. So I like Joe Mixon. So,
I like that.
And then, who are you going to sit?
I'm going with Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
I think T-Law should sit, and if that does happen, we might be seeing a situation like you're just talking about, stacking the box and making the quarterback beat you. CJ Beathard didn't look terrible, and we've seen him be okay before, but he's still a step down. You're down Christian Kirk as well. Playing a Cleveland defense that is getting healthier. Denzel Ward's back this week, and they play way better at home. And that weather in Cleveland this time of the year, you never know what it's going to be. And Etienne also a little bit banged up coming off last week, so you never know, might re-aggravate that. It's just not a good matchup for him overall, and
it's gonna be been banged up for a couple weeks.
It's gonna be hard to sit him straight up, but just be hesitant if you are playing him, and if you have better options or similar options, maybe lean with them.
That's right. I like that a lot for sure. And then, I mean, like you said, Denzel Ward's back. That Cleveland defense is tough. So, and that's not Travis Etienne's strong suit in between the tackles, running whenever the box is loaded.
Yeah.
He's not a big thumper. And we could see more Dearness Johnson if that comes down to that type of game plan. So that's not what you want to see if you got Travis Etienne for sure. And then my sit's going to be Kenneth Walker. I said he came back to practice this week, and that's all well and good. But he's still got to face that San Francisco front that is a beast. And that is not the way you attack San Francisco, is through the air. So even if he does come back, he's going to be coming off a oblique injury and going to have to be putting up some tough yards against San Francisco. And like you said, I mean, the chance of re-aggravation, you don't want to do that, and you don't want to throw them in there going up against a really good San Francisco D and then he splits carries and doesn't even get the passing down work because Charbonnet gets the passing down work, then, I mean, what are you looking at? 15 carries for 50, 60 yards? No touchdowns?
Pretty much.
And maybe one catch.
For so long, that Seattle backfield was just like you knew someone was going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And for the past year and a half, with Walker being the guy, it hasn't been that way. And now Walker's been banged up, Charbonnet's banged up now. Like it's starting to feel like the Seattle backfield of old.
Yep. So I just don't want to start them against San Fran. I think that Seattle knows they're going to have to throw the ball. I think Geno has a better day than people are thinking he's going to have, because that's the only way you can really beat this San Fran defense. It's not on the ground. And so I'm sitting Kenneth Walker coming off that injury. And it might be a situation like we talked about. You might not can sit him, but you better temper your expectations for sure. So who you sleeping on? Who you starting over these guys or thinking about it real hard?
You hinted at it earlier, Keaton Mitchell.
Yep.
Going Keaton Mitchell, coming off a bye week. I think that was the perfect time for him. He's been kind of squeezing his way into a role and getting a few more touches every week. And now Baltimore knows that, this is the time that AFC's open and they need that little extra boost.
That's right.
I think Mitchell, I'm leaning with the fact that they gave him more of the reps over this bye week and let him be a little bit more comfortable with that number one role and like expecting that role. I mean, I do still think Gus Edwards is going to be involved and probably even more so like around the 10 and in that red zone. So be prepared for Edwards to take a touchdown from him because it'll probably happen. But I think Mitchell's going to be due for probably his highest workload of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's my sleeper as well. And honestly, it's almost just a gut call because it's not the greatest of a matchup against the Rams. But I think this is more of what you just said and what I was thinking the exact same thing. They're on a bye week, and he's healthy. He's been working back. If there's not a time to install him in the offense more, then I don't know when it would be. And I think I really think, 12 to 15 carries, you get 3 or maybe 2 to 3 passes, and, dude, I think you're talking about a top 20 running back.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it minimum. We've seen it with the Dolphins when Mostert's had a good year. Jeff Wilson's had that history of being solid. Yeah, Devon A-Chain comes out there and he's just a difference maker, and it looks like that backfield is his. I think you see a similar situation pretty soon with Keaton Mitchell.
And I think you do see Gus Edwards in the goal line situations, like you said, but I don't think he gets more than 5 to 10 carries. I mean, I don't even think he gets 10, 5 to 8. But they're going to be in the goal line. And then everything else is going to be Keaton Mitchell. I really do. And I've got him in a league, and I'm really thinking hard about starting him in the flex. But so I'm all on board with Keaton Mitchell as well. I like that pick a lot as a sleeper running back because that's mine as well. So let's go ahead and roll on to our wide receivers. Who you starting at wide receiver?
I believe this is my play last week, and I'm going right back to him, Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
I like this matchup a lot. Playing Dallas, who Deron Bland is their number 2 corner, and he's gotten a lot of hype with all his pick sixes and stuff like that. And then last week, DK Metcalf, embarrassed him. I do think Stephon Gilmore gets the AJ Brown assignment, and I think Gilmore's still just the better overall corner. And this will leave Smith on the other side with Bland, and Smith and Hurts are clicking, and I think the Eagles are going to have to throw the ball. It's a big game in Dallas. I think they're probably going to be playing from behind at some point. If not, it's going to be a close game where they're going to have to be just throwing. And Devontae Smith has just shown that like he's starting to get it going, and I'm gonna keep riding that train.
Yep, I like it a lot for sure. Only thing that gives me pause on that is Dallas Goedert's coming back.
Yes.
Does that eat into
that does bother me a little bit.
Workload a little bit of what because he's been killing it the last 3 weeks, and it is a prime time for him to kill it again.
Yeah.
Because this could be a shootout, and I know both defenses are pretty solid, but both offenses are really good too. And we've seen some games with Dallas where they're playing another team and it ends up being a shootout both ways, and their defense gives up a ton of points. So we could be looking at that again.
Yeah, and with Goddard, like he started off the year so terrible. Like I'm pretty sure I dropped him like week 5.
Oh yeah.
But then he came out and he just blew up and was the Dallas Goddard we expected.
Yeah, I know.
And then gets hurt. So what's he going to be when he comes back? We'll see. But
I don't think he comes back full on.
Yeah.
I just wonder if he takes away, 5 targets or so from Smith, something like that. But either way, like you said, it could be a shootout, and then it might not matter. They might all get 10 targets because we could see Hurts throw the ball, 35 times.
Yeah.
So, but no, I like that a lot. Mine has got to be DJ Moore. Going up against Detroit, we've seen it every time. It seems like Justin Fields is in there. He gets the ball to DJ Moore. The offense flows better. I mean, we have seen some amazing games this year with DJ Moore and Justin Fields on the field together.
This was almost my pick.
Yeah, I mean, and then they're going up against Detroit. Good chance at a possible shootout, and I just like it a lot. So I don't think there's anything else to say except for Fields is going to get more of the ball, and I mean DJ Moore's number 10 wide receiver in the league right now, and he's ranked stupid low to me for being that high. And I mean, to me, I don't see how you rank Devontae Adams ahead of him right now with Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
I mean, there's several guys on here.
Yeah, I mean, and DJ Moore is one play from being a great play. Like all it takes is one play
every
for him.
time. Yeah, and he was somebody I kind of wish the Saints would have went after. In free agency, but they did not. But and neither here nor there. But last game, 13 targets, 11 catches for 114 yards. I mean, that should say it right there. He's a must start. So anybody that's got him on the team, which there's probably not many people thinking about not starting him, but if you are, there shouldn't be a doubt in your mind.
Yeah.
So that's my start. Who are you going to sit this week there at wide receiver, Clay?
I'm going with my same sit from last week as well. So wide receivers are staying consistent and going Cooper Kupp. Pairing it up with the Stafford sit. We've talked about it plenty of times about what we think that Baltimore team is going to be like this week. And yeah, Kupp's just, I mean, it's been like 6 straight weeks of just not good play. I think he did finally get in the end zone last week, so that helped a little bit.
Got lucky, but
it's just it's rough. It's rough.
So I'm in a league that I've got Cooper Kupp, and I'm thinking I'm going to sit him this week, and I can't hardly believe it. I started him last week, got lucky, but I'm starting Keenan Allen and Cortland Sutton in that league, and then I could put him at the flex, but then it's like, so I could start Keaton Mitchell, I could start Cooper Kupp, I could start Calvin Ridley, which Denzel Ward's back. I really don't want to touch that. I sat Jalen Warren and Gilbert and George Pickens, but I could start Noah Brown. So it's like pretty much as Noah Brown.
Imagine telling yourself week 5 come the week before playoffs, I'm going to be deciding between Keaton Mitchell, Noah Brown, and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
that's fantasy.
It's sad, is what it is, but I just don't see it. And the way the announcers talk and everybody, they said he's playing through that injury. And honestly, if I didn't know that he was trying to play through an injury, then I wouldn't be even considering it. But the fact that I do know that's what really makes me think I don't think, because what if something else happens? What if him playing through that injury causes him to injure himself some other way? I don't know. I don't think I want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I almost picked him myself as well, but I felt like this other guy needed to be addressed too. So I'm right there with you though, Clay. And then my sit's Adam Thielen, guy that was, you want to talk about on fire to begin the season. And then I don't know what has happened. I mean, because there really ain't been much changed in that offense, except for the fact that he's just not getting the ball as much anymore. Still getting some targets, but 2 weeks ago, 3 targets. Last week, only 6 targets. The week before that, he had 11. The week before that, he had 10. But all the last 2 weeks, he has just disappeared. And I don't know why. And then now they're going up against New Orleans now. No Chris Olave. But New Orleans has still been no Chris Olave. I'm sorry. No Marshawn Lattimore. Now, New Orleans still been pretty decent at the quarterback position, but I mean,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about Thielen.
Yeah,
it's just a weird situation over there.
Yeah, so I'm not starting them against New Orleans. Next week after New Orleans, they got Atlanta. Not the best situation there either. But really, that Carolina offense in general, if you're not Chuba Hubbard, I probably don't want no part of you, honestly. And Chuba Hubbard's, man, I don't feel great about it, but he's producing because he's getting the volume.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But yeah, so I'm sitting Adam Thielen this week. So if you're sitting these guys, who you trying to start in their place? Who's your sleepers this week, or who's your sleeper?
I'm going with Brandon Cooks.
Yeah,
he's still getting rated pretty low, and
he is.
Man, he's producing. He really is, and I think this is going to be a game
with a little bit of volume.
Yeah, against that Philadelphia secondary that for some reason is just not playing well. I don't even understand why, because they've got the talent. They're just not playing well. And it didn't look any better last week against the 49ers. Deebo Samuel had quite the day. And I think Cooks, obviously CD's probably going to draw the Darius Slay assignment, and maybe he tries to slow him down a little bit. I mean, Ayuk didn't have the best of days last week. And I think he is kind of the number one there in San Francisco. And maybe Cooks has that Deebo Samuel type of pop this week and has a pretty big game. And it's just going to be a big game all around. I think it's going to be a good football game. It really is. And
I'm glad it's Sunday night. I really am. I'm hoping I get to sit down and watch that game because I'm looking forward to it as well myself.
Mm-hmm.
I like that sleeper a lot. Honestly, there's a ton of sleepers this week to me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there is a ton. I mean, I could rattle off about 5 to 8 right now that I feel comfortable starting my flex. That have really good upside, that have a decent floor. Mine this week is going to be Jaden Reed because of the Christian Watson injury. Reed's actually kind of banged up himself. He's had an injury destination the last couple weeks, but he was on a run there where he was producing at least 15 points for 3 weeks in a row. Last week didn't really come through against Kansas City. It was a Christian Watson game like we were talking about. Well, this week he gets the Giants. Sorry, not the Jets. The Giants, the other New York team. He gets the Giants, 29th ranked against the wide receivers. I mean, they gave up 27 points to New England's wide receivers, for Pete's sake. And Green Bay's way better of an offense than New England, as we know.
Yeah.
So I think Jaden Reed has a good game at the Giants. He's somebody I really like. And I'll throw a couple more. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's coming on of late. Yep. We talked about how vulnerable San Francisco is. I like him a lot. Noah Brown getting the second corner against the Jets as much as Houston likes to throw the ball.
Noah Brown was almost my choice. I like that.
Yeah, like him a lot. Jonathan Mingo is one against New Orleans. That's somebody, and that might be another reason that Adam Thielen has been off, because Jonathan Mingo is somebody that has really kind of started coming to his own the last couple of weeks. 10 targets last week, 6 for 69 against Tampa Bay. I don't like the matchup against New Orleans, but keep an eye on Jonathan Mingo. But Elijah Moore is a sleeper this week too. Like I was talking about earlier, Joe Flacco throwing the ball a ton, and Elijah Moore got a ton of targets last week. And then if you got no Amari Cooper, but last week 12 targets from Joe Flacco. Okay, now only 4 for 83, but 4 for 83. Okay, on 12 targets. I mean, dude, talk about some volume. And so those are some guys that I really like a lot this week, and I think have a good chance to have big weeks and have a solid floor really in their offense right now. So, when I say solid floor, I'm talking about 8 to 10 points is probably their floor right now on a lot of those, because they're looking at 4 for 40 at least, and that's if they don't get a touchdown or even have a couple even bigger games. So. But Jaden Reed at New York Giants, that's my sleeper pick for this week at wide receiver.
I like that.
And let's roll right on into our starts at tight end. Who are you starting at tight end there, Clay?
I'm going back to Detroit, and we're going Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet.
He was almost my pick.
Yeah, he's partnering up with Justin Fields, and it's starting to finally click with them ever since Fields got back from his injury. And yeah, I think he just keeps it going this week. That Detroit defense it's getting picked on, and we saw Juwan Johnson have a pretty solid week again last week for New Orleans, and yeah, I think Kmet's just a good pick here.
I like it a lot. I mean, he was, like I said, he was almost my pick as well. It is the only caveat, the only thing that I didn't go with him is because when they played Detroit at Detroit, he didn't have a great game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe whoever he's matched up with, even though they aren't that great against the tight end, maybe that's his kryptonite. I don't know, but it's a good matchup. He plays way better with Fields. I think it's a great choice for sure. Yeah. And then mine is David Njoku. We just talked about it. Joe Flacco is going to throw the ball all around the yard. Now, last week, for some reason, him and Njoku weren't really on the same page. 6 targets, but 2 catches for 17 yards. Harrison Bryant actually got a lot more work than Njoku, but Njoku's way too good of an athlete, way too good of a receiver not to be worked in to this offense when you throw the ball that many times a game. I think Njoku has a big week this week against Jacksonville, who's 22nd against the tight end. And I mean, especially in a week where you're missing Trey McBride and a couple other tight ends. I think Njoku has a really solid week, and that's who I'm gonna roll with as my start this week. He's almost a sleeper, but anyway, I like Njoku this week at home against Jacksonville. So, who are we gonna sit?
I'm going Dallas Goedert. It looks like he's gonna suit up, and if he does, I would not risk it this week. Playing that Dallas defense,
see what happens.
Straight up tough, and see which Dallas Goedert we get. Do we get the first half of the season? Do we get the second half of the season, or what are we gonna get? And I'm just. It's a wait and see approach for him.
And I'll be honest, if you look at his stats, he's only got 2 games above more than 9 points all year. 2 games. Okay?
One of them was like 150 yards or something.
Yeah, 117 and a touchdown for 8 catches.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was a big week, but yeah, only 2. So I mean, he doesn't really have a high floor. It's an average floor, I guess you could say, for tight end, but with the there's really tight ends kind of come on this year a little bit more than it has in the past. So you've got more other options. And I don't know. I completely agree with you. With him coming back playing against Dallas, I don't like the matchup either. So I'm right there with you. Biden's going to surprise some folks, but Dalton Kincaid at Kansas City.
Yep, and I looked at
that. This strictly relates to Dawson Knox coming back.
Yeah.
And I don't feel comfortable starting him until I know what his role is going to be with Knox on the field. Because we know what it is without Knox on the field, and it's great. I've got him in 2, really 3 leagues, but one, it's a double flex, and I don't ever play him, but he's sitting on my bench. But anyway, I'm not starting him. I can't. For one, it's a tough matchup against Kansas City.
Yeah.
They are really good against the tight end. They're 6th in the league against the tight end. But also, Dawson Knox is coming back. And before, you couldn't play either one of them. So he was practicing in full. It ain't like he's been limited. We don't know if he's going to play. He's been practicing in full. Dawson Knox is coming back. And if he comes back and they split time.
You would like to think that Kincaid, since how good he has been, that he's gonna, take a hold on this job and run with it. But man, there's also a part of you,
Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, Knox signed like a 4-year extension, and then they drafted Kincaid a month later. Like
they love Dawson. Knox.
Yeah, Knox is.
I don't think they're.
Josh Allen loves him as well.
Yeah,
so it's tough.
And I'm not saying that you cut him or get rid of him, but because he could go off, he could have a big role still. But with the history, with a tough matchup, I think you find somebody like Gerald Everett or Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
You just sit Kincaid because they got great matchups and good opportunity this week. And you sit Kincaid and see what happens.
I won't
still has
Knox
that same role.
I want Knox to come back just for the fact of we get to see it this week, and then we know for playoffs next week what that situation's like.
Yes,
because that'll be a big factor if you're going to ride with Kincaid for the playoffs.
If he's still getting 7-8 targets a game, rock on, son.
Yeah,
absolutely. Put him back in there and cut the other guy and be done with it. But in one of those leagues, it's a must win for me too.
Yeah,
and it's like I've got Isaiah Likely and I've got Kincaid, and I feel like Likely's floor is Kincaid's probably, I feel like Likely's floor is higher than Kincaid's floor in this game probably.
Yeah.
And so now the ceiling's probably higher with Kincaid, although he's a very boomer bust, but I don't know. I don't feel it with Kincaid. I feel like this is one of those times where it's a wait and see how they use them and continue on like we just said. So I'm sitting Kincaid this week. So,
yeah.
And then who you sleeping on? Who are you starting over some of these guys?
You just mentioned him, and I feel like he might be your pick, Isaiah Likely.
Nope, but he would have been. But I got the other guy that I talked about. So go ahead.
All right, yeah, I'm going Isaiah Likely.
Yeah,
back to that Baltimore offense coming off a bye week, and I think that Likely that there's a reason that every time that Andrews gets banged up, everyone's like Likely's going to be a top 5 tight end or something like that. Like he's got the potential, he's got the body, he's got like everything you want in a tight end for fantasy to just boom. And with Andrews out, bye week to get comfortable with the offense and comfortable with Lamar, and it feels like this. If there's ever a time for him to actually boom in the NFL, it's now. And what this looks like to me, or this whole situation has felt like the past 2 years, maybe 3 years that he's been there. It feels like Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz in Philly. Like Ertz was the guy that was solidified, yet they still drafted Goedert, and everyone knew Goedert had the potential if Ertz got traded, if Ertz got hurt, whatever. Now we see that with Andrews. Andrews was solidified. They draft Likely, and now Andrews gets banged up, and it's time for Likely to show that, he's this kind of guy. And I think he can.
Completely agree. Yep. The Rams are 27th in the league against tight end.
Yeah.
They gave up 21 points last week to Cleveland. The week before that, they gave up 16 to Trey McBride. And Isaiah Likely's every bit as good as either one of those teams. And I think if he gets the opportunity, and that's all it takes really, is Lamar looking his way. The game before the bye, 6 targets, 4 for 40. I'll take that. If I get that as a floor, I'll take it. If he falls in the end zone with that, you're talking about a top 6 tight end, probably, maybe top 5.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning with him over Dalton Schultz this week.
No doubt. I don't think Schultz plays.
And
I don't think he plays.
I'm hoping he doesn't play, so it'll make my decision a little bit easier, honestly.
I'll tell you right now, I'd start Likely over Schultz.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then so
so I like that pick a lot. And then mine is going to be somebody else I talked about, Gerald Everett. The volume, the opportunity out the wazoo. He's healthy right now. We've seen him get some opportunity last game. 5 targets, 4 catches, 44 yards against New England, who's known to be pretty tough against the tight end. Now he gets Denver, who is 31st in the league against tight end. So, they've given up at least 10 points the last 6 weeks to tight ends. And that is from Houston, Cleveland, Minnesota, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
And that was Houston without Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, that's right. And all athletic tight ends, very similar to Gerald Everett. And honestly, the Chargers are looking for anybody and everybody to step up and catch the ball.
Yeah.
And Gerald Everett has good chemistry with Herbert. We've seen it. All they have to do is just look his way. He's a big end zone threat. I like Everett a lot this week.
Everett's
I think there's a solid chance.
Everett's a Keenan Allen hamstring away from being the number 1 passing option, which is insane.
Yeah, don't talk like that. Because I got Keenan Allen in all 4 leagues. Don't talk like that.
Oh yeah, but
this has been like the golden goose season, because I don't think he's missed a game. And I go, he's about to go down with the season ender this week. But Anyway, yeah, so don't talk like that, but I like Gerald Everett a lot. He's got a ton of opportunity in this offense, being the number 2 pass catcher right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's my sleeper at tight end. That's going to round out our position players, guys. I've got a couple streaming defenses for y'all and a couple kickers, and then we're going to close it out. And probably it's tough to say which one of these is my number one. If Tim Boyles would have been starting, it would have been Houston at the Jets. But since Zach Wilson's starting, not saying he's like a big step up or anything, but I do feel like he has more of the ability to kind of move that offense and produce some points than Tim Boyle did. But Houston at the Jets is probably my number one. Then number 2 would be Green Bay at the Giants. I mean, talk about struggling offense. I mean, the Giants' offense has been pretty terrible this year so far. And Green Bay's defense has actually come on and has been pretty decent. So I like Green Bay's defense against the Giants at the Giants. And then last but not least, Minnesota's defense at Las Vegas. Aiden O'Connell starting, the rookie. We seen it the last time he played. The last team he played, I picked somebody against him. He had 3 picks. Very solid chance he has another similar game. I mean, he's just a rookie. He's inexperienced. He's learning, and that always produces turnovers and gives you a chance at some kind of a touchdown on defense, which is what you want.
Yeah.
And so I like Minnesota a lot as well. And most of those are all. I think all those are owned in less than 60% of leagues. So
yeah, so I'm giving you a challenge again. It's a must win for me.
Hey, did you ever pick up Miami like I told you? I hope you're still starting them.
Oh, still starting them. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the league where I'm actually locked into the playoffs right now.
There you go.
This league though, this is the one where I'm rostering 4 defenses just because I'm trying to block everybody.
That's right. You told me that.
I've got Minnesota. I've got Houston. I've got Tampa Bay versus the Falcons, and I've got the Chargers versus Denver. Who am I going with? Texans?
Definitely not Chargers. Definitely not Atlanta.
Tampa. Yeah.
Yeah, because Atlanta is a good defense, but they don't put up points. And I know I've talked about that before. They just don't score points. Like, they don't get a ton of sacks. They don't get a ton of turnovers. They just stop people because they slow the game down so much. Houston, with Derek Stingley, has been on fire, too.
Yes.
And that is something else that people have not, he was AFC Player of the Week, or maybe Player of the Month or week.
Oh, he made some incredible plays last week.
Yeah. So, man, with that at Houston against the Jets, at the Jets, Zach Wilson already, he's thinking about, not wanting to play. So I think you got to roll with Houston. Minnesota's tempting though, but I like Houston a lot.
Here's the only reason why I'm not wanting to fully commit to Houston, and it's that I've got C.J. Stroud starting, I've got Nico Collins starting. I have to start him, and I've also got Dalton Schultz. I've also got Dalton Schultz.
Well, there you go. Don't start Schultz, so that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going likely.
But man, I know I'm the same way.
That a must win.
I'm the same way. That's crazy. But what if they go in there and blow them out? Their defense scores 2 touchdowns.
They might.
That's tough. But I mean, if you do feel that way, I think Minnesota against the Vegas is a great pick as well.
Yeah.
I don't think you go wrong with either one. I do feel like with Derek Stingley coming on. Now, he's going to have a tough matchup with Garrett Wilson, and Zach Wilson is going to hammer the ball to him.
Absolutely.
But with Zach Wilson hammering the ball, is that going to give Derek Stingley more of an opportunity for turnovers?
Yeah.
So
it might be good for Wilson to be aggressive.
Yeah. So
it's going to be tough because I've got to play Nico Collins. I can't bench him.
You can't bench any of those,
especially
guys,
with
the
partnership
quarterback.
With the partnership of Stroud, I mean, they can both go for 100.
So the league that I have Stroud in, I have Fields in also.
Okay.
So I'm starting Fields.
Yeah.
But that's about the only situation where you could do something where you sit Stroud is if you got somebody like that on the bench.
My backup was Kyler, and he's out this week because of bye.
Yeah, he's on bye. I know. I have Kyler. That's that league I told you I got like 4 quarterbacks in. Yeah, I got Kyler also in that league. He's he's on the bye.
Yeah, my situation is I need to win. And I need Josh to win as well. If that happens, then I'm in.
Yeah.
So I need Josh to take care of business for us and have a little chasing the trophy partnership. And Well, and I'll be in the playoffs. So.
Well, I think you should probably. And all right, now what I don't like, who's returning kicks and stuff for Houston? And see, Tank Dell at one point was returning some, but I think since he's gotten so good, they stopped. But with him being hurt, kind of makes me wonder if he was or wasn't returning them. And that's something sometimes I do when I'm looking at defenses and I'm trying to decide. I'll look at that and I'll look at rankings, which I know Houston's ranked number 1 right now for this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're projected, quite a bit of points.
Yeah, so, and then that's something else. Vegas and rankers, they, it's kind of hard to go against that too.
They got Desmond King as the kick returner. I thought they cut him.
Yeah.
No, he's on the roster, it says. I thought they cut him. Maybe they signed him back.
Yeah. I say you roll with Houston, man. I mean,
put all my faith in Houston.
Yeah, but they're all. I mean, their team's coming back. Man. It looks good.
They've got me. They've got me to this point. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins,
that's right.
Here, so.
Yeah, so I say go with Houston. Roll with it, man.
Yeah.
And then kickers, couple kickers for guys out there. Evan McPherson for Cincinnati at home against Indianapolis. He's been on fire as of late, and especially with Cincinnati moving the ball a lot more. And then Jason Sanders for Miami at home against Tennessee, who's pretty good at stopping the run. Normally leads to more field goals whenever you have that. Yep. So I like Jason Sanders a lot as a kicker. And that's going to close it out, guys. And we appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, download, give us some feedback on your application of choice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our sponsors. Please remember the prayer requests that we talked about, guys. And good luck this week. If you're trying to clutch a playoff spot, or maybe get out there and pick up some guys or defenses to prevent somebody that you don't want to play against, or prepare for the playoffs coming up, because that's a big part. Even if you've clinched, that's a big part of it. Stacking that bench, getting guys that are either going to have opportunity to pick up some defenses, that are going to have really good matchups during your playoffs. Definitely be on the lookout for all those things, guys, to help prepare. We'll be coming back at y'all next week with a waiver wire pod at the beginning of the week, because it's going to be a crucial time. And we appreciate everybody listening. Y'all go support our sponsors. Thank y'all. And keep chasing that trophy. Good luck this weekend.
All right.